Oh, let's see. I did do a test for, let's see, who was it for D? No, you're good. So we did a test for D today since I got a little distracted. So pretty good potassium for D. And let's see. Ooh, that is some pretty green. Look how green that is. Remember, mine was more almost yellow. And D's pretty green there. Your probably pH is 7.5. And, oh, phosphorus looks pretty good. Come on in. Sorry. You're good. Yep, phosphorus looks good. That's pretty blue. And nitrogen looks like it's got nothing. It's kind of cloudy brown water.
So where do we want our levels to be?
You want them to all be in the colorful range, not like clear. This is mostly clear. So.
What is the number?
Oh, how much? Yeah. Well, they're all different. So with the pH, you want the pH to be probably in the low 7 or 6 range. And nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, you just need adequate for those. So we'll do the other test. Who else brought their soil? Yes. We'll do yours before you take off. I got distracted. And I also got distracted with our sprouts because I wasn't here Thursday and Friday, and I forgot to remind the employees to water them. So they were kind of dry today, so we might not have sprouts to eat today. But we do have germination tests. So we did a germ test last week, and this is the cucumber. Look at all the cucumbers. We can tell which one's germinated, like 100%. So that was just a week, and I mean, they were probably ready by Thursday to tell which ones had germinated. So they just got to, smells like cucumbers too. All right, and then we have zucchinis, or I was trying to remember what else we put in there, but they were bigger seeds. Did we do radishes? Oh, we did do radishes. Oh, those came up pretty good too. Look at all the radishes. Yeah, we could plant them, or we could eat them. So with the germ test, that's as hard as it is to test your germination on your plants. So, or not your plants, your seeds. And so it took less than a week. We had really good germ on both of those. This one's probably close to 95%. There was a couple maybe in there that didn't germ, but on the cucumbers, it was like 100%. Every single one of them would come up. So I just wet the paper towels down thoroughly and squeezed the excess out. And then we just put the seeds in there and folded them up, and boom, just they sat in a plastic bag for a week. I didn't do anything to them. They sat right here. And I didn't have the light on either. So 68 to 70 degrees is all it took, and they just germinated like crazy. Yeah. So if you have seeds sitting in your shoebox down the basement like everybody else that's in here, sometimes it's nice to test and see if it's worth it. Yeah. And that's as hard as it is to get a good idea. Some take a little bit longer. Some take 7 to 10 days to really germ, but most things within a week you can tell if they're good or not. And then I did get some good germination on our sprouts, but I don't know if we want to eat them because they did dry out. So there's like our alfalfa. You're welcome to come try the alfalfa. They've been rinsed today. So on your way out, if you want to try the alfalfa, they taste just like alfalfa sprouts. But the radishes were really coming along nice. And then since they didn't get water for 2 days, they were pretty bone dry this morning. So I don't think we'll try those. We'll do them again for next week so you can try them. And then the kale were all sprouting like crazy also, but they looked even worse than the radishes this morning when I got here. So my apologies for not being here for 2 days, but sometimes the employees don't quite follow through on stuff if I don't remind them. So my fault for not reminding everybody. So first in the morning when I get here, I rinse them. When I go home in the evening, I rinse them. But since I wasn't here Thursday and Friday, they didn't get rinsed. So they were little shriveled up, dry, sad suckers. and they would have been much more delicious. Yeah, but you've got like 4 little compartments, or you can take the divider out. You can do bigger compartments if you want to just do all the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, and we do microgreens too. So as we get towards the end of the class, we'll probably show you how to do microgreens too. It's a little bit different than doing the sprouts. And then what I did do today is I've got little packets for you to take home. So tonight, when our class is over, there are 5 peat pellets in there, and you've got 5 tomato seeds, and you're going to get to start your own tomato seeds at home and hopefully not kill all of them. So yeah, so grab one of the packages before you go home. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we start the seeds and how to be successful with that before we get into the vegetables, and then we're going to dig into vegetables again. So all right, so every packet has a little seed packet in there, and this is Cherokee Purple. So it is a really, like, one of our team's favorite tomatoes, and it's an heirloom. It's been around a long time, has a really unique flavor to it. The only problem with Cherokee Purple is they get every single disease known to man that kills tomato plants. So you have to watch out. They're kind of susceptible to diseases, so you got to watch out. I'll teach you what to do to not have to worry about it. Yeah, because I got my Cherokee Purple and my Brandywine and some of my heirlooms that are really susceptible to disease. Got them all to produce last year. They're fine. So, but if you don't do anything to them, they'll pick up verticillium and fusarium and every disease that's out there. Yeah. So you got seeds to play with. We got some peat pellets. I'll show you how to hydrate the peat pellets. Best way to hydrate the peat pellets is to use warm water. So don't use cold water. Use warm water. And if you got a little surfactant in there, like the Easy Wet, remember when we did our Easy Wet experiment, how the water stayed in there? It'll hydrate these up faster if you do it. So just throw your little, you got a little tray or a little saucer, paper plate, whatever. Just throw them in there. And then I mixed up some water already. Now we're going to let these guys sit and hydrate while we talk. And it's best if you get a little bit of water on top of them as well as underneath them. So we'll put quite a bit of water in there because they will hydrate up. Unhydrated, hydrated. Don't plant them like this. Got to hydrate them first. Hydrate. Then there's a little hole here. So there's a hole in the middle. It leaves a little indented hole right there. And then what I do is I'll drop my seeds in there, and then I'll kind of pinch the top. Sorry. So the soil goes over it, and I'll kind of tap it down, and it's ready to go. All right. And it will hold moisture like crazy. So after we seed them, so after you leave today, I'll put seeds in there, and I'll squeeze the tops, and I'll kind of tap the soil down. Heat mat. So underneath here is a heat mat that looks just like this. So I use heat mats because the air temperature in here right now is 75 degrees. All right. But the soil temperature of these peat pellets without the heat mat would be like 60 degrees. It's much, much cooler. And if you put them in a window, they'll warm up during the day, but then they'll get really cold at night. They'll be even colder. It takes all day for them to warm up. And so tomatoes especially like much warmer soil. So they want the soil to be closer to 70 degrees to germinate. And so if you use a heat mat, it will bring your temperature of your soil up closer to your ambient temperature, usually 10 to 15 degrees. But if you don't use a heat mat and your air temperature is 68, your soil temperature is going to be below 60. It's just not going to be very warm. And that's the biggest mistake that people make, is they put their stuff in the window. They think the window's going to warm them up, and it does for about 3 or 4 hours during the day. But the rest of the time, they're like as cold as the window is. And so it transfers all that temperature over to the peat pellets. So a heat mat like this will raise the ambient temperature of your environment up to 70 or 75 degrees, and then your plants will germinate properly. All right, so I've got a heat mat in there, and then I've got the grow dome. So this is my 4-inch grow dome. It has vents. Let's see if I've got one that's vented here. Yep. So this is a 7-inch dome, but it's got vents on the top, and that's for when the plants germinate, so that they get that air circulation. But when I'm germinating, so after I seed those, I will close the vents up, and then it will hold all the moisture and it will hold the heat inside there as they germinate. This one is indented, so my artificial light can sit right on top of it. And right now they don't need the light, but the light generates a little bit of heat. And so I've got a little heat on top and a little heat on the bottom. So this is going to be nice 75 degrees inside there. They're going to love it. By the time you come next week, we're going to have seedlings that are that tall. All right, just in a week of seedlings that are that tall when you come for class next week.
So if you hold the moisture there, you don't have to water them again?
I will water them probably Wednesday or Thursday.
So once a week?
They'll need a touch up halfway through the week. But by the time they germinate, which will be probably around Wednesday or Thursday, I'll water them again, and then by Saturday they'll need a drink, because once they all start to germinate, I'll open the vents and let the air start to circulate, and then I'll have to do it like 2 or 3 times a week to keep them happy. They'll dry out a little bit faster. But for right now, you can see I turned the mat on to warm things up. Can you see the condensation already in there? It's already getting kind of foggy. So it's warming up the moisture that's in there already, and it's starting to collect. And then throughout the week, I'll come to check them, and I'll just tap on it, and it will condense and it will drop like rain, and it will keep them all hydrated. So great way to go.
When you're watering them, I mean, are you using squirt bottle? Are you misting it? Are you water canning?
So in my water, I put this to get it to hydrate. I put my seed starter in there, which helps when they germinate, because it's got just a tiny bit of fertilizer in there. Look at the analysis. It's a 1-1-1. So it's only got a little bit of fertilizer in there, but it has a lot of biologicals to really encourage the seeds to germinate faster and to get established really quickly. So I love the Seed Start from Monterey. Unfortunately, they only make it in gallons. They used to make it in quarts, but they quit doing quarts and they just have it in gallons. So it's just like, oh, really? Can't sell that to that many people, but it's great for lawn. Like if I'm germinating grass seed, I use that on it, and my grass comes up in like 5 days. Like it just pops out of the ground. So way quicker. So the only things that I put in there, and I just put it in my watering can, just the Easy Wet and the fertilizer and water, and mixed it all up. And then I did exactly what we did with these. I just filled it up and got water on top of them. And see, they're starting to hydrate already. So they're starting to expand already.
But like in a couple of days when you water in the dome,
I'll-
the exact same thing?
I'll use this, and I'll just gently pour it right over the top of them.
So I've tried to
Yeah.
start seeds for a couple of gardens
Yes.
for years.
Yes.
And I've had no success.
Yep.
I'm going to try again this year.
It's
but I'm like,
it's.
so like tiny.
I can guarantee it's the heat. If
like
if
little
it's
seeds like the
if it's not warm enough,
Am I washing it away? Like,
you should have seen how tiny the tomatoes were. That you know that
how do you
they're just
find
tiny.
just that tiny? How are you-
I have the seeds in my hand, and I separate them out, and I put 2 seeds in instead of 1, because I don't have enough faith that one of them is going to come up, but I know that 1 out of the 2 is going to come up. So I put 2 in there, and I separate them out very carefully on my hand, 2 seeds and 2 seeds. So when I plant those tonight, I'll just dump the seeds into my hand, and I'll just separate them out in 2, 2, 2, 2. I'm just squeezing the coconut core just right over the top of them. Which reminds me, look how moist our coconut core is still. Can you see? It's like it's still wet from 2 weeks ago. It's still moist. So that's what's in those peat pellets, is the coconut core, and it holds the right amount of moisture for them. So the one that I've got here is an LED, and it's a full spectrum light. So as you can see, it puts out a lot of light. I'm going to try not to blind you all, but it puts out a lot of light. Great thing about the LEDs is I can drop it on the floor and kick it, and pick it up and it works just fine. Where the fluorescent ones, I have broken many of those glass tubes over the years. So the LEDs are amazing. This kit right here has 4 LEDs, 4 foot, and it puts out a lot of light. So as our seeds germinate, we'll keep them in the 4-incher for another week, and then we'll transfer them to the 7-incher. And then when we take the 7-inch dome off, we'll just have them underneath this. And the great thing about this is we can adjust the height as necessary. So we can get the lights like right down on top of the plants, so they don't get leggy. And that's the other issue that people have. Usually their spot is not warm enough to start things, and they don't have enough light.
How long are they staying on?
Until we put them outside.
4 hours a day?
I have them on 16 and off 8. Yep, just what I like to sleep. Yeah. Sleep 8, party 16. Yeah. Corey, was it you or was it Calvin? Okay. Yeah.
I understand that on the when they sprout,
As soon as all those seeds germinate, which will be probably about this time next week, heat mat will go away. Yeah. Because if it's too warm, then it can cause problems. Yeah. So I'll keep the heat mat on for usually like 7 to 10 days until everything germinates, and then heat mat goes away, but the light's still on, and the light will stay on for 16 and off for 8 every single day. So I've got it on a timer, so it just does it automatically. So I got it set for it'll turn off at like 11 o'clock at night, and it comes back on at 7 in the morning. So yeah, which works pretty well. All right. Did everybody bring back their syllabus for today? Who needs a seed list? Sunny has forgotten hers. Let's see. All right. Audrey, you're welcome. Anybody else need one? Barbara? Oh, and Wendy needs one. Yep. Yes, Eunice can have one too. Don't forget to bring it back next time. Okay. And pass one down. Oop. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. And one back there in the back. Okay. I do have extras. Would you like? You can have one. All right. Okay. Does everybody have one? All right. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yep, you're good. I brought extras just in case. Oh, Calvin, you need one too? No? Oh, you have a question? Yes.
would you discuss the difference between heritage, heirloom, organic, and just regular?
Yes, we can do that. That's a good question. Have we cooled down sufficiently? I can turn it back on and off a little bit. It's hard to yell over the top. If it starts to get hot, we can turn it back on as necessary. That is a great point, Calvin. Calvin brought up that there is a little key code down at the bottom right-hand corner of your seed list that we didn't go over last week. We probably need to go over that. So down there at the bottom, our seed list has lots of little codes next to them. And one of them is a little infinity sign that looks like an 8 that's on its side. And that means that they are non-hybrids, open pollinated seeds. If it doesn't have that sign, that means they're hybrids. And if it has an H next to it, that means it's an heirloom. It means it's been around for 75 years. So there's a lot of different definitions for what an heirloom is. And some people say, well, it can't be an heirloom if it's a hybrid. But hybrids have been around for over 100 years. Some of them have. And so it's like, well, just because it's a hybrid doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't mean that it can't be an heirloom, because heirloom just means it's been around for a long time. And some people say heirloom's 50 years, and some people say it's 70, and some say it's 100. So definition is kind of broad on what an heirloom is. It's just a variety that's been around for a long time that's been used. But if it's an open pollinated, that means you could harvest the seeds from it if you do it correctly. Some of the hybrids you can actually harvest seeds from, and they'll stay true to the parentage, but you got to do it right. Wendy, you had a comment.
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's been genetically modified
No.
somehow?
None of these seeds have been genetically modified. So that is that is something completely different. So it's a big.
Hybrid. How do you make a hybrid?
We're going to talk about it. Yeah. So everybody in the seed industry right now that's doing home garden stuff, they say we don't have genetically modified seeds. Well, no duh. It's just nobody has them because they're so expensive and they're so difficult to create and to maintain that in a home garden, it makes no sense for anyone to do genetically modified seeds. The only one that we've ever had here at the store is a tomato that we grew last year that's called the purple tomato that's been genetically modified. And they were like $1 a piece for the seeds. And we brought in 50 seeds just to see what they were like. And I grew them in my garden and they tasted just like tomatoes. Yeah, it was really weird. Yeah, but they were purple all the way through. So they are purple all the way through. So if you get like Cherokee purple and you cut it open, it's red on the inside and it's purple on the outside. It's like there is not one that's been, naturally crossed or hybridized that they can get purple on the inside. But the purple tomato, they genetically modified it and they put a little bit of blueberry DNA in it to keep it purple all the way through. Yeah, so quite interesting. No blueberry in the flavor, not at all. No, it's just the color. But the purple fruit is more nutritious for you because of the purple coloring. And so it is supposed to be the most nutritious and healthy tomato that you could possibly eat because of its color and its nutrition, and it's genetically modified. So here's the difference. So an open pollinated plant is probably a hybrid, but Mother Nature has hybridized it over hundreds of years. All right, so who in here is a hybrid? Everybody should raise their hand. Everybody should raise their hand because you have two different parents with different genetics that have been crossed to create Jack. All right, and Jack picked up some really good traits from his parents. And like me, he picked up some traits that are not the best when it comes to eyesight and, other things. So sometimes some of these genetics get combined and passed on, and some are good and some are bad and some are okay. And so Mother Nature has done this over the years with different carrots and squashes and different things. So these open pollinated varieties are hybrids, but they are Mother Nature's hybrids, and so we call them open pollinateds. And it took sometimes hundreds of years for them to be developed. All right. As we learned more about plant science, people started cross-pollinating plants to get improvements. All right. And so they took two different plants of the same, category, and they crossed them together. It's like two different carrots, cross them to hopefully get a better carrot. And when they do hybridization like that, sometimes they'll make 10,000 mistakes before they get the one really good one, the one that is good enough to go play in the NBA. All right. So, how many people play in the NBA? There's not very many. Out of the billions of people that live on the earth, you get about 500 players. Actually, a little bit less than that. So it's a very elite group of people that have the right genetics to be able to be tall, but also very skilled and very, have lots of dexterity and physically fit and run fast and jump really high and have the skills to be able to shoot baskets. You get a very unique skill set. It takes a lot of genetic crossing to be able to get that. Anybody ever been to a NBA basketball game and you've been on the floor, on the court, like right where they're at, and you look at them and you go, these guys are crazy. Like their bodies are just very unusual. I went to a game a couple of weeks ago and Victor Wembanyama was there, and he's 7'4", and he's standing underneath the basket, and the net is right above his head, and he reaches his arms up and he touches the rim flat-footed. That's how long his arms are, and he's 7'5", and he can touch the rim standing flat-footed. I mean, when I was like at my peak physical self in my early 20s, I could barely touch the rim, jumping as high as I could possibly jump. Because I have short arms. My arms aren't very long. Not very. I'm not made for the NBA. So these plant breeders will take these varieties of carrots or these varieties of beets or these varieties of tomatoes, and they will cross-pollinate them over and over and over and over and over until they get one that's like, that one's awesome. That's got all the qualities that we want out of it. We've bred all the yucky things out, and this one's like, delicious. All right. That can take decades sometimes. Decades. All right. So that's why hybrids are a little bit more expensive than open pollinated, because it takes a lot of time and effort and research to select these varieties that are really good. And in most cases, they're more productive. They taste better. They're more disease resistant. They have fewer problems, and they've been selected for a particular reason. In genetic modification, which you really won't find in home garden, they have skipped that decades process, and they can create a new variety in 6 months. And they will just pick the best genetics out of the plants that they want and put them together. All right. But in most cases, it's tomato genetics with tomato genetics or corn genetics with corn genetics. It's not like frog genetics with dinosaur genetics like in Jurassic Park. So that's when people start freaking out about, GMOs because they've got frog DNA in them, and who knows what we're eating and where it's going. And that doesn't really work that way. So the GMOs are really quite interesting in the fact that you can create things in a very, very short amount of time, but it's not worth it for them to do it for home gardens. Most of the GMOs that you find are in like commercial grains and things like that, where they're trying to figure out how to be more disease resistant, more insect resistant. So they'll find the plants that have these natural resistances, and then they'll try and put those in and create something new. It's great. If you look at the genetics on them, there is no difference between the ones that have been hybridized and the ones that have been genetically modified. But there's a lot of fear in what they've created, because we don't understand. We don't know what the implications are. We've really only had them for about 10 years, and everybody 50 years ago thought it was okay to smoke, and they thought it was okay to drink alcohol. And now we're finding out that some of the ramifications aren't the greatest, so there's some hesitancy, and then there's some fear in there, but there's not really any scientific data behind them that says, this is going to cause problems later on. But the nutritional value of some of the GMOs is actually higher than some of the other ones because they've built that into them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But really, home garden, it's a non-issue. You can't even buy them, so don't worry about it. But we have a lot of open pollinated varieties that we have sold here for 75 plus years. We have a lot of hybrids that are really good, and that key at the bottom is really helpful in finding those. So if you see that little kind of symbol, it looks like a Y, that means they're good for sprouts or they're good for microgreens. And that's going to be not per each individual variety. It's going to be per category. So like it's right next to the broccoli, it's right next to the beets, it's right next to the cabbage, but it's not next to the carrots. So carrots aren't great for sprouting or for doing microgreens, but cabbage and broccoli and beets are, and radishes are. So you'll see that little symbol next to those. There's also a symbol that is an X, that is stuff that's going to cross-pollinate, and that's mostly corn varieties. So in the home garden, the only ones you got to worry about cross-pollinating are like the corns, because if you're growing a sweet corn and you grow a popcorn next to it, and they cross-pollinate, your popcorn will not pop and your sweet corn will not taste very good because they've cross-pollinated. And so you have to be a little careful with that. And then if you put ornamental corn in the mix too, then your corn will look pretty, but it will taste horrible and it won't pop. So you gotta be careful what you're growing next to each other if it has one of those X's next to it. Paige.
So like how far do you need to space them apart? Because I've had where I grew zucchini and half was green and half was yellow, and I had a yellow squash. I'm like, whoa.
The first year the stuff should not cross-pollinate. So like if you have a zucchini that's a green one and a zucchini that's a yellow one and a zucchini that's a striped one, they can grow side by side and they should stay true to form the whole year. It's when you harvest the seeds out that you may have your new hybrid that probably will be terrible because you're going to make 10,000 mistakes before you get the one good one. The reason you had the ones that were mixed, they probably just had like either a hybridization, like it didn't get pollinated quite properly, that one seed, and so you got some weird stuff coming out of it, so.
What did you say with the corn though? Like
Corn is different. Corn is different. So corn's unique in the fact that if you have, like, say, Bodacious, which is a hybrid, and you grow it next to just Bodacious, there's no other corn around, it will pollinate itself and you'll be able to harvest that seed and it will still be Bodacious. Most of the other plants will start to revert back to their parents over time, but the corn won't. And so the corn gets pollinated and you're basically eating the seed of the corn. And so it's got the qualities of the two parents that first year. Okay? Yeah, because you're eating the seed, not the fruit. The fruit's going to be normal, but the seed inside is going to have that different genetics to it.
how far apart would I space my popcorn and my
It depends on which way the wind blows. So if the wind blows from east to west, you could actually put some popcorn on the south side of your garden and some regular corn on the north side of your garden, and the wind blows this way so the pollen goes, away from each other, But if it's like right next to each other and the wind blows this way and it cross-pollinates, then you've got all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah, so, but you can also plant it so it tassels at different times, which is where the pollen's coming from. So if you do an early corn and you wait a week or two, and then you plant a later corn, there's going to be 2 or 3 week window between when one tassels and the next one tassels, and then they can be side by side and it's not a problem. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, Michelle, you had a question. Oh, did we get it? Okay. Oh, yeah. But let's say you do have that zucchini and you didn't want it to get cross-planted because you don't want to mess up your seed for next year. What you have to do is wait, like the crack of dawn before the sun even comes up. You got to go out there and you got to find the female blossoms, and you find a male blossom on the same plant, and you take the male blossom and you pull the petals off and the pollen's on the stamens, and you wipe that on the female flower, and then you put a plastic bag over it to keep it from getting contaminated, and then you'll have transference from, the male flower to the female flower of that same plant, and it will stay true to form. But if you don't bag it and a bee comes along and it hits this plant and this plant and this plant and this plant, picks up the different pollen, then you harvest the seed out of that zucchini, and it's a zucchini, but it kind of tastes like a cucumber and it looks like a squash, so yeah. Yeah, but that won't happen the first year. That happens when you plant the seed the next year, and then you get this weird thing and you go, what the heck? I didn't plant that. It's supposed to be a zucchini, so, and that's why we tell people to not let their volunteers come up in their garden, because like you till in the squashes or the pumpkins, and then those volunteers come up. Well, they've been cross-pollinated, and then they do all kinds of weird stuff. And they mess up your plants that should be true. So you could have a volunteer that's like messed it up also. So it's complicated. It's really complicated. And every year I have people come in, they're like, well, I just want to buy seeds this year, and then I'm just going to grow my own, and I'm going to harvest my own seeds, and I won't have to worry about this ever again. I'm just going to do all my own stuff. And I go, good luck with that, because when great grandpa Joe used to do this 150 years ago, he only had like 10 varieties of vegetables to deal with. He didn't have 10 varieties of zucchinis. He didn't even have a zucchini. He had a pumpkin. He had one winter squash. They just, and his nearest neighbor was 5 miles down the road. And so you didn't have to worry about cross-pollination. But if you live in my neighborhood, you got a neighbor just over the fence that's got a garden. It's got different stuff than what you're growing. And then you got a neighbor on the other side that's growing different stuff. And you got a neighbor behind you that's growing different stuff. And all it takes is one bee doing its job, and it's picked up pollen everywhere in your whole neighborhood, and it's spread it all around. it's really hard to keep your stuff from being contaminated. You're just going to have crosses. And so honestly, if like I grow giant pumpkins, if I want to make sure that that pumpkin seed from the giant pumpkin is good for next year, I have to go out there and hand pollinate it before the flower opens up and then bag it so it doesn't get contaminated. Otherwise, you've got all kinds of weird stuff. So it's not that easy. Most of the time I tell people, for $1 worth of seed in a packet, $1.25, it's pushing it. I know it's kind of expensive. Just come and buy the damn seed. It's like by the time you mess around with all that stuff, it's like you spent $100 just messing around out in your garden trying to keep everything from getting cross-pollinated. And it's just like, just come buy extra. Just buy extra and put it in your shoebox down in the basement. And if you forget about it, it sits there for 5 years. We know how to germinate it and make sure it's okay. It's like, yeah. It's complicated and it's difficult. And personally, I like a lot of the hybrid varieties because they're more disease resistant. They produce more. They taste better. So I have no problem planting a lot of hybrids in my garden because I just like them. They're really good. But I grow a lot of heirlooms too. I just plant what I like the best. And so if it's an heirloom, great. I don't care. If it's a hybrid, great. I don't care. But some people are just like, I have to have heirloom stuff. It's like, all right, great. You just limited how much stuff you can grow by about, 50%. You just limited yourself to what you're able to grow if you're going to be uptight about it, and it's fine. I've got a lot of really great organic varieties. I've got a bunch of really good varieties that are non-organic. Really, when it comes down to it, the seed is not going to carry pesticides over from one year to the next. I mean, everything that the seeds need are right inside those little seeds. It's more about how you garden than it is about the seeds that you start with. So I don't worry so much about the seeds, but I've got some people that it's like, if that seed's not organic and it's not certified organic, I'm not touching it. And it's like, all right, you just limited yourself again to about 15% of what you could be growing. I just feel like our environment is dirty enough, it's polluted enough. No matter what you grow, I'm sorry, it's going to have microplastics and it's going to have pollutants in it. And we just live in a toxic environment. But guess what? Our environment is way better than it was 50 years ago. And it's way better than it was 100 years ago. So as toxic as our environment is, we're very fortunate. We are very, very, very fortunate to live in the place that we live because we can control our own food. We can grow our own food. We've got great soil. We've got great water. We have water here that other people dream that they could possibly have. So we are very fortunate to be able to grow things here. So yeah, that's my soapbox for today. We're super blessed. Marion.
What would be your guesstimate if I were to come in a bison? What would be your guesstimate of how long they would be good?
You can come in and spend $50 on seeds and have enough to do a garden that's twice the size of this room for at least 1 year, if not maybe even halfway through the second year as well too. So it's not a really great expense. And we've calculated that you'll get probably about $1,500 worth of vegetables out of it per year. Yeah. Off of that $50 worth of seed, you'll get about $1,500 worth of vegetables. It's crazy. Yeah. It's like, but you got to put the work in, you got to put the effort in. But I mean, that's half the fun is like doing it. But if you stored it in a cool, dry location without moisture, you'll get 3 to 5 years out of it without losing much germination at all. Yeah. So you can vacuum pack it and put it on the shelf. And we just tell people every 2 or 3 years, come get a brand new one. Take your old one, plant it. I mean, it's going to be fine. Just every 2 or 3 years, get a new packet. But then don't let the old one sit there. Plant it. Use it, and then you've always got fresh seeds no matter what. Paige.
I was gonna say I bought the corn. I think it was a frozen maybe.
Yeah.
And then the full beans from here 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And every year.
And they still germinate. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah. What's unique is we bought some corn a couple years ago that really is kind of going off the market, so it's hard to find. So we found about 200 pounds of it, and I was like, we'll take it all. It's going to take me 3 or 4 years to sell it all, but it's like maybe I won't be able to get it in 3 or 4 years. And so when it came in, it was tested at 90% germination. And so after 2 years, we decided, well, let's test it and make sure everything's like good, because the corn really holds up pretty well. And we tested it was at 95% germination. So it was actually higher than it was when they tested it originally, because the hard seed was starting to germinate. So sometimes your germ will go up, but there's just certain things like parsnips don't hold their germ very well, and cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli don't hold their germ really great. Lettuces are a little temperamental, but 2 or 3 years and they're usually just fine. And we test all of our seeds every summer. So as soon as the growing season's kind of on decline, July and August, we test all of our seeds. And if it doesn't reach our standards, not the state standards, then we get rid of it. And we start all over, because that's when all of our orders go in for next year, is like July. And so we're testing everything in July and August to make sure it's good. And if it's good, it's great. There's some stuff we'll test that's like 4 or 5 years old, and germ's just as good as the day we got it. So yeah, Calvin.
Well, I want to put a plug in for your seed.
Yeah.
Because I get blessed with about 6 or 8 seeds along.
Oh yes.
And the price of those things now are
Oh, it's crazy.
7, 8, and there's one catalog that's $10 to $12 per packet.
Oh, just a little packet. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, when I first started working here in the 80s, some of our corn varieties were like $10 or $12 a pound. We're talking the 80s, all right? We're not talking last year. We're talking 80s, $10 to $12 a pound. Those have all bumped up now to like $18 to $20 a pound. That's in 40 years. So I've got customers that come in that I remember buying corn in the 80s, and I tell them it's $20 a pound for ambrosia now, and they about lose it. They're just like, it's how much? I can't believe how expensive that is. And I'm like, I get it. Stuff's a little bit more expensive, but it really was the same price last year, and it really was the same price the year before. And if you think back, it was like $12 a pound when you bought it in 1989 when I sold it to you, and I was here. And
About how many seeds come in a pound?
a pound of corn seed will do about a fifth of an acre.
Oh.
So you're talking a pickup truck full of corn when you're done. Like literally a pickup truck. Maybe 2. Yeah, for $20. And it's just like, I'm sorry it's so expensive. I don't know how you'll be able to manage. It's like, seeds are one of the greatest bargains you will ever get still. Even with the prices in the catalogs, Calvin, they're still really not too bad. Ours are about half of most of the catalogs, like half the price, yeah. And we do it right in front of you so you can like watch it and say, I want more, or no, that's too much, or it's like that's half the fun.
Sunflower seeds?
Lots of flower seeds too.
That's all your
Yep. I've got a new wildflower mix that's a cut flower mix that you might want to take a look at, because you can just like scatter it, and they're all good varieties for cut flowers. And you can bring them in and enjoy them inside. So, okay. Did I answer your questions on the bottom key code, Calvin? Okay, we good? All right. Oh my gosh, it's like 5 minutes to 4 already. Oh, you got me off topic. So, okay. So next week I'm going to be down in St. George, and I don't think I'm going to get back in time for the class. So Josh next week is probably going to do pesticides. All right. So we're going to do pests. So we're going to do pests like insects, diseases, and weeds. And Josh is going to do that because he knows all of our products almost as well as I do. So Josh is going to come do that in case I don't get back. Then I'm gone on the 21st, because that's when we take off to go see my daughter's Air Force graduation. She got assigned her plane yesterday. We were pretty excited. She got a C-130, which is one of the big planes that they can land and take off just about anywhere. So she'll be like transporting troops and cargo and stuff. Yeah, so we're pretty excited. She is in Enid, so she's at Vance right now. So she gets her wings in a couple weeks, and we're going to be there. And I'm sorry, she is more important than you are. Yeah, exactly. So we were super excited for her. She wanted to get a fighter, so she wanted to go train for fighters. And mom and dad are probably happier uh, with her doing a heavy instead of a fighter. But you know, she had a great attitude. She would take whatever they gave her, except she didn't want to do an AWAC because all they do is just circle around. She's like, that's the most boring job you could possibly ever have. All they do is just circle areas. So she's excited for the C-130. Oh, with the one, yeah. Oh, yeah. With the 130, she's got so much variety of different things that she can do. She's
My son and daughter-in-law flew C-17s for a long time.
Yeah.
And he now flies for UPS.
There you go. Yeah. So she's super excited because she gives a little bit of variety. So she could take troops this time. She could take cargo this time. She'd go just about anywhere in the world with that plane. So it's kind of cool. So I won't be here on the 21st, but I will be back on the 28th. So
there won't be class on
at 21st, I've got J.D. Gunnell coming from the Cache County Extension, and he's going to teach all about pruning. So his class might be an hour, hour and a half, but that way you get to work with JD, and then I'll be back on the 28th, and we'll pick up where we left off if we don't finish vegetables, and then we'll dig into a whole bunch of other stuff, and we'll still have 2 more classes after that. So, but I would give you a heads up. So plan next week will be pesticides because I just don't think we're going to get back in time from St. George unless we get up and go at the crack of dawn. We got stuff we got to do down there. So, all right. So heads up on that. All right, we got through beans last week, didn't we? Yep. Oh, we got to beets. That's right, because I told you how gross they are. All right, we did beets and we did chard. Sorry? Yep, we're on broccoli. So we're going to talk about broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts all at the same time because they're kind of in the same family, and kale as well too. So all those are in Group A, so you can plant those outside as soon as you can work the soil. You can start them indoors right now so that they're ready to transplant out the middle to the latter part of March if you want to start them early. And the seeds are really, really small. And so with broccoli, we recommend you do like 2 seeds every 12 inches if you're planting them right outside. But with the cabbage and the cauliflower, the plants get really big. It's 2 seeds every 3 feet. So it's kind of hard to plant, keep track where everything is because you got 2 little teeny tiny seeds every 3 feet. And so sometimes it's better to start them indoors so when you transplant the plants out, at least you know where they're at. Otherwise, you can do a row, you can stake it, mark it as best you can, and you'll never find them because you got these. It's like a needle in a haystack because you have 2 teeny tiny seeds in a 10-foot square area, and you can't find the stupid things. So cabbage and cauliflower, more spacing. Broccoli and Brussels sprouts, probably the 12 inches is like perfect. And Brussels sprouts, better to do in the fall. I have a hard time getting them to produce fast enough in the spring. And I've got a new plant this year. I just got some seeds in. If you want to try them, they're about 25 cents a seed, so they're a little bit expensive. But it's called a kaleette. Anybody ever heard of a kaleette? Kaleettes are a cross between kale and Brussels sprouts. And so instead of getting little round sprouts, you get these little kale flowerets on the same type of stalk. So you get a whole bunch of little baby kales on this one plant. So I've had people asking for them, so we thought we'd give them a shot. I brought in like 500 seeds just to try it, see what the heck. So we'll see how it goes. If you want to try it, buy 10 seeds, $2.50, get 10 plants, see how it goes. Could be kind of fun. For broccoli, we will have plants of all of these. So broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale. In March, greenhouse, we'll have plants for all of them in there. But some of the varieties I sell in seed are better than the plants that we will have. Some are more heat tolerant. They don't go to seed as fast. So Waltham is like a good old standard broccoli. That's what we'll have in the greenhouse. But if you get into varieties like the Purple Magic, it's a purple broccoli. It is amazing. It is so good, but you'll have to start it yourself. There's no grower that's going to grow it. Marathon and Imperial and Destiny are really, really good. The Destiny has really large heads and a shorter plant. The Imperial has a taller plant, but when you cut that main head off, it sends lots of side shoots out, so it's really, really productive. And the quality is really good on all three of those. But the artwork at the top, that's the broccolini that you'll go to like a gourmet restaurant and you get the little broccolinis that the stems are really small and tender and they don't get stringy and yucky, and little flowerets are about as big as a dollar, like a silver dollar. They're not very big. The quality is just amazing on it. What's cool about the artwork is I have grown it the entire summer and it never went to seed until about the middle of August. Artwork. Artwork is the most heat tolerant broccoli I've ever grown. And what's cool about it is it's like the three-headed hydra. So when you cut the flower off, you don't want to let it get big. When it gets about silver dollar size, you trim that first flower out and it sends up 3 more. And then you take those 3 off when they're about silver dollar size and it sends up 9 more. And then when those are silver dollar size, you trim those off and it sends up 27 more. It just produces like crazy, but you want to get them when the flowers are about that big. You don't want to let them get full size. Keep them small, keep cutting them, and they keep sending out more. So it's a really, really great variety of broccoli. But the first meal, it's kind of skimpy because you only get like 1 flower.
And it's little.
And it's little, yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to eat this one while I'm out here. But, you know, if you grow 5 plants, you get 5 little heads. You know, Marion could cook, saute some broccoli for herself, but I wouldn't share it with anybody. But then the next batch, you're going to have 15. And then the next batch, you're going to have, 35, 40. It's just going to multiply. So then all of a sudden you've got enough to share with everybody. Corey.
How long between each of those batches?
Oh, it's a couple weeks. Yeah. So really, once it gets going, it's usually like June. I'll do that first cutting, and by August, it's really kicking out. Yeah. So and eventually it'll go to seed. Yeah. But the quality is amazing, and it's just cool to watch how fast it kicks more broccolis out. Yeah. 10 to 14 days, Corey, is what I would say. Yeah. So it's not super fast, but it's not like really slow either. So it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Cabbage, there's some really good varieties in there. China Express is the Savoy cabbage, so it's the really crinkly leaf. Danish ball heads get like basketball size. They're huge. Golden Acres early. Late Flat Dutch is kind of flat. A lot of sauerkraut made out of late flat Dutch, so you make sauerkraut out of that. Pak choy they're the Oriental style. I really like those. Those are great. Saute those. Yummy. Red Rock is a purple cabbage. Savoy Perfection is a larger Chinese cabbage. The China Express is more upright, where the Savoy Perfection is more round. It's definitely a Savoy cabbage. Stonehead is probably one of our favorites because it's really sweet. It's medium size and it's really, really early. And the nice thing about it is some of the early varieties, if you don't harvest them right when they're ready, they will split. And when the cabbage splits, the quality is not very good. And so with Stonehead, when it's ready, it will hold for a couple of weeks before it splits. So you don't have to use it like instantly. It'll stay out there in the garden and it won't go bad. But like Golden Acres early also, if you don't pick it right when it's ready, it'll split, and then you might as well just like let the deer come and eat it because it's not very good at that point. Blue Vantage is a really big kind of blue cabbage, really tasty. That's really good. And yes,
Have you ever had trouble with getting the green worms in the cabbage?
the cabbage loopers love cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. They like the kale, and they're little green worms, and they are the offspring of the little white moths that flap around your garden, and they lay their eggs on all these desirable cole crops, and then they hatch out and they just nibble, 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 nibble. And so the best thing to control those with, which we will talk about next week, is a product that is called spinosad. Spinosad is a bacteria, It's a bacteria that does not bother anybody in here. Like you can drink it and it won't hurt you. It's non-toxic to people, but it kills caterpillars like crazy. And so it's very toxic to the little green cabbage loopers that are massacring your plants. But you can spray it on your plants this afternoon, harvest them tonight, rinse it off, eat it. No problems. Yeah. It kills the adults. Yeah. So there's other biological insecticides for caterpillars out there. BT, you ever heard of BT? BT is used quite frequently too. It only lasts a couple days. The caterpillars have to eat it. The spinosad works on contact as well as by ingestion, and it kills the cabbage loopers in the larval form. But it won't hurt the moths. So the adults, it won't bother, but in the larval stages, it paralyzes their digestive system. They can't eat, and they kick the bucket. Yeah.
So are you just change gear real quick? Are you spraying your main baskets with the or the BT?
I don't use BT because it just doesn't last long enough. I'd be out there spraying like every other day. Spinosad lasts about a week, and so you get much long. We use spinosad, and we use permethrin, and we use bifin. We alternate. We move things around, yeah. Because if you don't, they just like munch them all up. There's nothing left. Marion.
Did you ever take the cabbage in your house and start cutting it up?
Yeah.
And you notice one of the little worms in there?
Mhm.
You just cut it out?
Oh, just rinse him off. Just rinse him off. It's okay.
And eat
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, they've just had a little nibble before you got to it. So, yeah. They won't hurt you. And if you want a little extra protein, you could eat the cabbage loopers too. So, yeah. So they're not going to damage the plant to where you can't use it. You might just have like a hole in the leaf or something. So, it's fine. Yeah, that's just fine.
That's the old adage, it's better to eat the whole worm than an apple worm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so cabbage, we got those all covered. Let's see. Cauliflower. If you don't have a lot of space, don't mess with cauliflower. Because cauliflower takes all summer to get it to grow and to produce a flower, and it has to grow in the dark. So you got to get the leaves up over the top of it, and if it's not the right variety, you got to tie it off. But there are some varieties on here like Twister that will actually wrap the leaves around it and cover it up. That's why it's called Twister. It'll actually self-blanch. But they take up 3 feet across, and if you don't have a lot of space, you get a little flower that's like this big. In the same space, I can grow a tomato plant and get a bushel of tomatoes off of it compared to one little flower of cauliflower. So your return on investment is not great on the cauliflower. I love cauliflower, don't get me wrong, but I don't put any cauliflower in my garden because I got to mess with it all summer long, and then I get these little flowers on it, and I have to like tie it up, and I'll just go buy it at the grocery store. It's fine. I'll let somebody else deal with it. I'll plant other stuff that's more productive in my garden, and my garden's 8,000 square feet. So if your garden's smaller than that, go for it if you really want to grow cauliflower, but your return on investment for your space is not like sensational. So just be aware of that. And I absolutely love cauliflower, but it takes a lot of space and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. So just take that into consideration as you're deciding. For cauliflower, early snowball is good, but honestly, the Twister, it is the coolest cauliflower you could ever grow because the leaves don't grow flat like this. The leaves grow like this, and they just kind of like wrap around the cauliflower. So it actually looks like a tornado has spun the leaves around the cauliflower, and it covers up the flower so it can grow in the dark. And then when you open it up, it's white on the inside. They're really cool. So if you're going to grow it, grow Twister. Don't grow anything else. The Pureza is actually really good too. It's also kind of self-blanching, but the leaves don't cover it completely. The Twister covers it up completely. It's like the coolest plant ever. And it would be fun for growing with kids. If you got kids and they want to see something cool, grow that because it looks like it's been spun. Yeah, it's worth growing just for that. So that's kind of fun. And on the kale, let's see. Black Magic is like taller. It's called a lance leaf. So it's taller and it's kind of a bluish gray. That one's really good. The dinosaur is also a lance leaf. The dwarf blue curled is like the little kale mixes that you buy at the grocery store where the kale's kind of all chopped up and everything. That's like the dwarf blue curled. The garden blend has like a little bit of everything in it. So it's got the red, it's got the blue, it's got the dinosaur, it's got the black in it. And then the Siberian is just for sprouting. So you don't let those grow completely. You just like sprout them and then eat them as sprouts. And kale's really good for you. It's a little bit of I think it's a little bit of an acquired taste. Like you eat kale the first time, you go, yeah, it's kind of weird. The texture's not my favorite. But then you get into it and it's like, oh yeah, it's actually pretty good. So I like kale now, but it probably wasn't my favorite the first time. First time I tried it, it was just like, yeah, it's okay. Any questions on the cole family? So that's like the cole family: broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale. Yes.
You know which type of kale they use?
I would suspect that is the blue curled. Yes, that is the blue curled. That's the most common one. If you go to Trader Joe's and get their kale mix, it's got mostly the blue kale in it. Sometimes you'll see the red kale in there too, but it's got bigger leaves to it. All right, cabbage colors. Okay. Cantaloupe. We'll do cantaloupe and watermelon together because they're kind of similar. So what I do, and this is going to be one of those aha moments for some of you, maybe hopefully not all of you, but some of you. So you plant cantaloupes and watermelons and squashes and melons and cucumbers all in hills is the term. But a hill is not a hill. All right? So it's not a literal mound. It's a hill is the term that we use for the place where they're at. So it's not a literal mound. It's actually more of a depression.
I've done the hills. So like,
I know. I told you you're going to have an aha moment. So what happens if we do a hill and we put the seeds on top and we water it and the water like runs off to the sides? They have to be in the depression so the water will stay there. So we're actually going to put our seeds here. We're going to barely cover them up, and we're going to like make a little berm so it keeps the water there so they stay moist. So a hill is the term of the place, not really a hill. And my pen. Well, it's just because the English language is so stupid sometimes. So yeah. Yeah, my pen's not working great, so yeah. But it's more of a depression. So wherever we do hills, it's this, not this. All right. Sorry. The red will probably work. There we go. Yeah. So don't do that. All right, we're doing this. Audrey.
Will you say again what plant like that?
Cucumbers, squashes, melons, stuff that takes up a lot of space, pumpkins. So like if I plant cantaloupes in a row, you can do that, but sometimes the vines will get 6 feet. And so they just take up a big whole section. If you do big pumpkins, I could put one big pumpkin in the middle here and it'd take up this whole room. So you do these spots that are called hills so that they can run and the vines can take up more space. I've got to the point where I like to plant my cucumbers in a row, but I plant one seed every 3 inches, and then I can let them spread, or I can trellis them. And you can do the same thing with the cantaloupes because they don't spread too far. But you start getting into the squashes and the pumpkins, they'll take up like huge sections, and so we plant them in hills. When I plant my cantaloupes, I will do 4 to 5 seeds per hill, which is a depression page. Yeah. But I put a hot cap over the top of them. And so when I plant them, hot cap goes over the top. It holds the heat and the moisture, and they germinate much, much faster. much, much quicker. And all these plants are in group D, and so they are sensitive to cold. So we're going to plant them latter part of May, first part of June, because if they come up and it freezes, they're toast. Then you're starting them all over again. And then I put a little bit of coconut coir, a little bit of potting soil, or a little bit of regular soil, just a quarter of an inch, not very much. And then I'm not watering them every day, but probably every other day, just a little bit of moisture just to keep them damp. And if I've got that hot cap over them and the sun comes out a couple days, they're up in like 4 or 5 days, no problem. Yeah. If I start them in a dome like that over there with the heat mat, 3 days.
Yeah, that's what
They're up in 3 days. So we will start a lot of stuff in our own warehouse here at Anderson's, and I can plant them on a Monday, and by the next, not Monday, but by the next Wednesday or Thursday, they're about this tall and they're ready to sell. So we can do them in about 10 days. So we can turn them over really, really fast that way. Yeah. So, and we do a lot. We do about 400 flats just in our own warehouse. Varieties we can't buy from anybody else. Stuff that we just can't get from any of the growers, that's what we grow. It's just not worth it for us to grow everything. We just grow specific stuff. Yeah. So, weed barrier or black plastic down is also really good to heat the soil up. So sometimes I'll put my weed barrier down a couple of weeks before I want to plant, and then I'll cut holes in it after 2 weeks and pull the fabric back and then make my little hill depressions and then put the hot caps over them, and it warms the soil up faster and they germinate quicker. So, all right, Ethan. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if most of the seeds you guys have, like, have, what do you call it? What you're doing at the sprouts already.
Yeah.
Is it better for us to just plant all the sprouts?
Some things I like to plant from seed right outside, and some things I like to get the plants that are already growing because they are a little bit faster. But like cantaloupe varieties, I've got some varieties that are so good. I would never plant anything out of the greenhouse because they're just like so far superior that I would never bother. But a lot of the, like the zucchinis and things, we'll have Space Miser that's really good, and we'll have Tasty Green cucumbers, and you can just do the plants instead. It is fairly easy and quick to transplant the plants, and I've got products that you can transplant them with that they will go through basically zero transplant shock, and they'll just take off and go. Where with the seeds, it's going to be a week before they get up and get going, and sometimes they catch up to the other plants, and sometimes they don't. So, how big's your garden? Yeah, yeah. If you get a couple growing kits, it's really fun to do, and you can do different stuff at different times, and that might be worth it because you can use it over and over and over again. It's not just a 1-year investment, but you got to justify the cost. You know, if you're spending $100 for stuff between the light and the domes and the kits and the plants and the soil and everything else, you're going to be $75 to $100 into it. So it's not going to pay for itself this year, but 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you're going to get your return on investment. So, yeah. And after 2 years, you might go, oh, this sucks. Let's just buy it at the store because I don't want to mess with it. But if you're doing it because it's fun and you enjoy it, then it's totally worth it. Yeah, it's totally worth it. Because you think about it, you go to one movie and you go out to dinner and you're $70 into it. Yeah. That's if you go the cheap way, you know, if you're into a cheap way. So I took somebody to lunch the other day and it was like $35. I was like, what the heck? I used to go to lunch for like $15 for 2 people. And it's like, it's $35. It's like, holy smoke. It's like, who needs to eat anymore? You know, it's like, oh. During the summer, we will go to the grocery store and we will buy milk and we'll buy bread and sometimes we'll buy meat, and we have everything else. And I mean, that's what I buy in the summertime because the garden's kicking so much stuff out. And my wife and I look at each other and go, what are we going to do tonight for dinner? And I go, well, we've got corn and we've got onions and we've got potatoes. And what else, you know, what meat are we going to eat? And it's like, well, we don't have to have meat every night. You know, it's like, it's okay. So it's amazing how much the garden will actually produce for you. Back to the cantaloupes. Okay, so we've got some really great varieties in there. The two very best cantaloupes I've ever grown, Atlantis and Infinite Gold. But I'm kind of leaning more towards just growing Atlantis because Infinite Gold is hard to tell when it's ready. But when you pick it and it's ripe, it is the greatest cantaloupe of all time. It tastes like cantaloupe with honey drizzled all over it. That's what it tastes like. And it's firm. It can be like really old and mature and it's still firm. Like it keeps its firmness. It doesn't ever go mushy. So Infinite Gold is like the most amazing cantaloupe, but it is so hard to tell when it's ready because it doesn't detach from the vine like other cantaloupes do. So cantaloupes, when they are ready, they will have the right coloring, they'll have the right netting, and you can grab them and you tug on them on the vine and they will just detach right when they're ready. They'll detach and they'll be like perfect. Infinite Gold will not detach. It just stays attached. And you have to watch for the netting to climb down the vine before you can tell when it's ready. And I mess it up every time. Like it's either not quite ripe or it's too ripe. And so I struggle trying to figure out when it's ready. And so I've kind of moved more towards Atlantis because Atlantis will detach and it stays really firm, but not quite as firm as the Infinite Gold. But the flavor is absolutely amazing. It's so good. Like we've grown a lot of different cantaloupes, and Atlantis is hands down the best cantaloupe that I've ever grown. It's so good. Yeah, it stays firm. It's really sweet. It's not mushy. It tastes like cantaloupe, and it's easy to pick. You can tell when it's ready. Yeah. So cantaloupes detach.
Produces enough for its space,
I
or is that a fruit?
I picked cantaloupe almost every other day for a month.
Wow.
And I planted like 3 hills. Yeah. And I was just like, I would go out there and go, there's another cantaloupe ready today. You know, and so I was just like, be so excited because, oh, so much better than watermelon. At least for me. I got a few friends that are great at growing watermelons. I'm kind of like, so. Some years I get good watermelons. Some years it's like not the greatest. But my cantaloupes are almost every single year. They just produce like crazy. I'll bet I picked 50 cantaloupes this year.
Cantaloupes can have pest problems?
Nope, not much. Spider mites a little bit, cucumber beetles a little bit, but I use a repellent and then nobody shows up. So it's good.
So when you start that one?
Yeah.
When do you start the
About Mother's Day. I start them inside and I get them about 10 days old and then I transplant them out, but I protect them and I do the weed barrier to warm the soil up. It really makes a difference. Jack.
I planted, and I don't know which brand it was, cantaloupe last year.
Yeah.
Got one.
One? You should have been over to my house. What? Yeah, should have been to my house. Yeah. 2 weeks before I'm going to plant my plants out, weed barrier goes down. And it heats the soil up. And then I cut little holes in it and I plant my plants in there. And it keeps them warm. And the vines crawl over the weed barrier. And they're not sitting on the soil, so they don't rot as much. And it just keeps the plants warm and they produce quicker.
Now, I got quite a bit of flowers,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't get any cantaloupe, so I don't know what I thought it was.
It was an odd summer last year, and a lot of people had a hard time getting stuff to set fruit. And it's not we didn't have enough bees, because every time I went out there, there were bees all over the place. The plants just didn't want to set. I don't know if it's like the temperatures. We had really odd temperatures last year. It wasn't like super hot, but things were not setting right off. Wendy.
Is there something to with that? Somebody told me that if it doesn't cool down at night enough, that they won't set.
They won't set fruit. Yeah.
And last year was.
It was hotter at night. Like the temperatures never dropped down, and so it's usually a temperature thing. Like, and sometimes it's too hot in the morning, and so the flowers open up. But I mean, the bees can't hit every flower at the same instant, and so it takes a while for them to get around. And the flowers, I think, were fading before the bees could get there and get them pollinated, which I think is an issue also. You could self-pollinate, yeah. So we're going to have a little sex education today. So just if anybody needs to leave, you can go outside for a moment. But the male flowers on the plants, the male flowers look like that if we're looking at it from the side. Flowers look like that. But the female flowers actually have there's actually a little fruit there. And so you can identify the female flowers compared to the male flowers right at the base of the flower. So there's actually a little teeny tiny fruit there, and then the flower. And with the male ones, it's just a straight stem. Yeah. Oh, you take the pollen from the male and you can transfer it to the female flower. The process is quite similar to our process, yes. But it's usually the bees that are facilitating, or the wind, or whatever. So yeah. You're gonna take the whole flower off, and you're gonna like either pull the petals back and expose the pollen, and you'll see the pollen just like covered on there. And then you can take it and you can just like wipe it on the female flower, and boom, we've had flower sex. Yeah. Well, we were talking about hybridization before, right? Same thing, same thing. Yes, make sure, and I'll be able to share that with them. You got it. Yeah, no problem. Had that conversation before. Not afraid. Hey, at my house, that's all it took was one time, so that just takes all the fun out of it. So we're not talking about the flowers. Probably too much information, but seriously, when we had our third daughter, like, my wife came and she said, I think I'm pregnant. I was like, what the heck? It's like, well, one time, that was like a week ago, she's like, I'm pregnant, and it's like, no. And we went into the doctor, and the doctor's like, well, when was your last period? And she's like, I haven't, it hasn't been long enough. He's like, well, how do you know you're pregnant? She's like, I know I'm pregnant. Do the test, and they did the blood test, and sure enough, she's like, there you go. She knows her body really, really well. So she is on it. Totally on it. So, okay, sorry. Too much information. Yeah. That's when you just kind of go, oh, really? No fun. Okay. So all those cantaloupes are good. Atlantis, to die for. It's so good. I've never had anybody come back and go, I didn't really like that. Everybody's just like, I want that one you sold me last year because it was like so good. So that's what Atlantis is. Inspire is really, really early. So I like the Inspire because it comes on about 2 weeks earlier than the Atlantis. But as soon as the Atlantis comes on, I just give the Inspire away to people because it's not any good anymore. It's like, here, take this cantaloupe. They're like, oh, great, wonderful. I'm like, yeah, you'll love it. Wait till you get one of the other ones, then you won't like it anymore. So, yeah. Hale's Best, Hearts of Gold. They've been around forever. They're good. Da Vinci is it's a European melon, and so it's kind of football shaped. It's a little bit more elongated, but it's got a really great flavor too. But I have a hard time growing that one. Crenshaw's Crenshaw. One thing you should know is like cantaloupe is different from a muskmelon, but they taste pretty much the same. So cantaloupe has the netting, the brown kind of buckskin netting all the way around it, but a muskmelon has the sutures in it. The sutures look like a basketball. So if it's got sutures, it's a muskmelon. If it doesn't have sutures, it's a true cantaloupe. But they both taste the same. All right, so some muskmelons just are better. Atlantis is a muskmelon. It's got sutures in it. So I kind of tend to like the muskmelons better. But that's just me. All right, watermelons. We're gonna do watermelons while we're at it too. And the watermelons, God, we got some great varieties in there also. Tiger Doll and Yellow Doll and Sangria and Royalty. Those are amazing melons. They're really, really good. Royalty is like a striped, good size, 10-pound, 15-pound watermelon. So it's a big one. Sangria is green all the way on the skin, no stripes on it, but the flesh is just bright red and delicious. Tiger Doll is small. It's more of an ice box. So the Tiger Dolls are about that big. So just right for one person, maybe two if you really want to share. and really good quality, but very, very early. The yellow doll is yellow on the inside. So the flesh is yellow, not red. So when you eat it, you go, what the heck? This is not a watermelon. And then you eat it, you go, oh, wow, that's the best watermelon I've ever had. The flavor is so rich and good, but it's a yellow flesh. So I've got friends that sell it at the farmers markets all around, and they'll cut them up and do samples. And people look at it and go, oh, yellow watermelon. They try and say, I'll buy 2. You know, it's like they're just really, really good. They're early, and they're a little bit easier to grow than the full-size watermelons. The way to tell if the watermelon's ripe, there's 2 different indicators, and they both have to happen. They don't have to happen right at the same time, but you need to have both indicators occur before your watermelon is ready to pick. And it's hard to tell. The first one is the underside coloring of the watermelon. So if we've got a watermelon that looks like this, and it's sitting on the ground, this portion is going to be white, like this whiteboard. But at a certain point in the season, and you can just kind of roll it to the side just to look and see, it will go more of a buckskin color. It won't be this yellow, but it will be more of a buckskin color. That's the first indicator. We want the underside to be not white, but more yellowish buckskin. All right, so that's the first indicator. Second indicator is it's going to be attached to the vine here. And right where it's attached to the vine, there's a little pigtail that comes off. It looks just like that. All right. Remember, my degree is in history, not in art.
It looks great.
But this is pretty darn good for me. All right. So that's exactly what it looks like. It's this little corkscrew tendril that comes off right there next to the watermelon. When that corkscrew tendril turns brown and crispy, and the color on the bottom is tan instead of white, that's when it's ready. All right. But if the corkscrew turns brown and crispy, but it's still white on the bottom, it's still not ready. All right. If the bottom turns brown, it's kind of tan, but this is still green and flexible, then it's still not ready. You got to get both. That's why it's hard to tell when the watermelons are ready.
That's for all the varieties.
Pretty much all the watermelons. Yeah. I mess them up all the time because I get too excited and it's like, it's really ready. It's ready. And so then I cut it and we take it inside. And it's like, oh, it's kind of green. It's okay. I get too excited about the watermelons. So
Well, if you know those indicators, why are you?
I know it's because you just get excited. It's like, oh, it's really close. It's got to be close. It's got to be close. It's like, oh, I should let it go one more day. But if you pick the cantaloupes or you pick the watermelons and they're not quite ripe, they will not ripen letting them sit on the counter. They just go bad. You have to pick them when they're ripe because they just don't get better with time. Just doesn't happen.
So when you go to the store and buy watermelon, you just have no.
It was picked when it was ripe, and they've just got it to you fast enough before it starts to deteriorate.
You hope that they pick it.
Yeah, sometimes it's not right.
Yeah, some are better than others, that's for sure. It is truly a science and an art because there's some science to it, and some people just know when they're ripe. Yeah, it's a feel thing. My wife's really good at picking watermelons, and I kick her butt on picking cantaloupes at the grocery store. I've got it down on the cantaloupes, but the watermelons, it's a crapshoot. I never tell. You can thump them and you can smell them. I mean, there's all the different things you can do. I can't tell. All right. Any questions on the watermelons or the cantaloupes? Corey and then Carolyn. Honeydew does really quite well. Yeah, very well. No, you're good. Thank you. Bye, Paige. Grow just like a cantaloupe. Yep, grow just like a cantaloupe, and it's the coloring that we're looking for to tell when they're ripe. They don't detach like the cantaloupes do, so you got to kind of watch for it. Carolyn and then Jack.
Okay, so things watermelon. Are they seedless or some?
I do have some seedless varieties. So the Triple Crown is seedless, and the Treasure Chest is seedless. And treasure chest is yellow on the inside also.
Okay, and then do you have a favorite one that's seeded and what?
So
Looking for, I don't know, everyone.
I would grow the yellow doll or the treasure chest before all the other ones because they're earlier and the quality is really, really good. And if you want to go seedless, do the treasure chest. But you can't do just a seedless watermelon. You have to grow a regular watermelon with it because it has to cross-pollinate. How do you get seeds from a seedless watermelon?
So is there a good seeded watermelon you would get?
So if I were to grow watermelon, I would do either Tiger Baby or Tiger Doll or Yellow Doll, and I would grow it with Treasure Chest. The Triple Crown is really good, but it's a bigger watermelon, so it just takes longer. And for me, it's harder to get them to mature. But we've done it, and we've had some really, really good royalty watermelons too. But it's about a 50-50 shot for me on watermelons. Like every year I get great cantaloupes, but some years the watermelons are like, why did I even bother? And then next year it's like, oh, we got a couple really good ones. I'm going to do it again next year. So I get excited about it again. Yeah. So Jack and then Wendy.
Okay, what about doing like a fence further up? Can you do that?
Absolutely. So I've trellised cantaloupes,
Okay.
and that's great until they fall off because when they're ripe, they're gonna drop. Watermelons stay there longer, but I can't do the really big ones. You got to do the small ones because they're not too heavy to pull the plant off the trellis. But if you get the big ones, it's either going to pull the plant off the trellis or the fruit's going to just tear everything to shreds. So
I've seen somewhere they actually put a
little bungee. Sometimes they'll do little bungee cords, or they'll use like nylons, or different things to kind of. You need something to support them. But I've done cantaloupes, works great. I've done cucumbers, works great. Smaller watermelons, no problems. But you start getting the big watermelons, they're just too heavy. You're just
I
too.
don't even eat watermelon.
Yeah. Tim's going for it, huh? Yeah. Zucchinis, you can't really trellis the zucchinis very well because they're just kind of bushy to begin with. They don't vine all over the place. So, Wendy, you had a comment, question?
Why can they grow so well like in Green River?
Oh, good question. Green River climate's just a little bit different than ours, and so just great conditions for doing watermelons. Yeah, and they're really good at it. They've done it long enough; they just kind of know the tricks. So, location has a lot to do with it.
They probably have a lot longer growing season.
Their season is longer, but their summers are sometimes cooler because of the elevation. So, yeah. So, good question. All right. So, watermelons and cantaloupes. I might as well do cucumbers while we're there because I like doing the cucumbers. So, if I'm doing the hills, 4 to 6 seeds per hill, barely cover them up, hot cap over the top, weed barrier around them to generate some heat. And last year I was picking cantaloupes the first week of August.
Cucumbers?
Cantaloupes. Yeah, cantaloupes first week of August. Cucumbers, my cucumbers were the pits last year. I don't know what was wrong with them. They were so awful. It was the worst cucumbers I've ever grown. I don't know what the heck was wrong with them. But I don't do them in hills anymore. I do one seed every 3 to 4 inches in the row, and then I let them grow up a trellis. So I've got these really cool trellises that are kind of like these. They're kind of like my Wonder Wall. Yeah, they're called Wonder Walls, but this is like a handy cage. But the Wonder Walls we've got are more of a A-frame. And so I put those right down my cucumbers, and they just grow right up the Wonder Walls. And then the cucumbers dangle down, and so you get nice, long, skinny cucumbers. Oh, they're so good, except for last year. Last year, not good. I think I put a lot of compost out, and I think it got dumped there, and the compost got spread out, but it didn't get spread out in that one location. It was like more concentrated, and it just burned them up. It's like, didn't matter what I did to them. They just kept looking like they were never getting any water. And I was like, oh, they're wet.
They look like bulbs.
Yeah.
More than long. I don't know why they do that.
That is a handy cage. Wonder Wall. And those are made here in Cache Valley, and they're powder coated here, and they're just that are like 10 to 12 inches long. And they're dark green, and the quality is just good all the way through. The seed cavity is really small. The seeds don't get really big. The flavor is amazing. It's just like the best cucumber of all time. Love Tasty Green.
Okay, do you find normal ones?
When do you think,
that don't
Kaylee?
have any taste?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
English. Is that the couple?
This would be an English style cucumber, but it's an Oriental type, and so it's got spines. It's really spiny, like it's got lots of spines on it. Where the English ones are almost like no spines on them. Oh, but the Tasty Green, grow the Tasty Green. Everybody that takes the Tasty Green just loves it. It's so good. Kaylee,
Should cucumbers produce all season?
once they start producing, they will produce until
So
it
if
freezes.
So I get a big batch first of June, or in middle of June.
Yeah,
And then if I doesn't grow too much, does that signal to the plant to stop? Because they quit about.
it's usually a watering thing. So be a little bit more consistent and try and hit them every 3 days with water. Not like a lot, but just make sure and water them every 3 days. They'll be more consistent. And then when they look like they're going to kind of slow down, fertilize them. Give them more food. Feed them. And then they will feed you. Water soluble liquid fertilizer. It's going to be quick. They'll be able to pick it up and they'll just kick out. Yeah. They might not be producing any more flowers, and then they'll just like stop producing if they're not producing flowers. So throughout the summer, I'll keep hitting the cucumbers with my either the compost tea or the Grow Big, just to keep them going.
How often on the compost?
Every week, 7 to 10 days. Yeah, just to keep them going.
So I have garden boxes and I hand water everything
Yep, do it consistently every 3 days.
every 3 days.
Every 3 days.
In mid-July?
Maybe a little bit more. If they droop during the day, but then the sun goes down and they perk back up, that's okay. But if the sun goes down and they don't perk back up, then they're really thirsty. Because sometimes it's just so hot that if you stood outside all day long, you'd be wilty too. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Ethan.
I wonder if you use like an irrigation system in your garden, or if you like.
I use drippers and soaker hoses. And when we talk about watering, I'll show you how I set my garden up. And I can literally water my 8,000 square foot garden in about 15 minutes of work.
What class is that?
That will be the 28th probably. Yes. Yeah.
Can we take a field trip to your house?
You could. Yes, you could. So I've got my garden set up where I've got 2 sections, and I have soaker hoses that cover all those sections and drippers in some other spots. And I can basically get up, get ready for work, go out there, turn my system on, and leave and go to work. And then when I come back home after work, I'll turn it off. I'll unhook my quick connectors on the top end and hook those up on some new rows, and unhook my quick connectors on the bottom end and hook those up with some other rows, and I'll turn it on and I'll go back home and I'll have dinner, mess around with my kids, and go to sleep. And then when I wake up the next morning, I go and I turn it off. I move it to the last 4 rows on the top and to the last 4 rows on the bottom, and I turn it on. I go to work, and I just watered my whole garden, and I was there for literally 10 minutes. And the soaker hoses and the drips just do all the work for me. So that's the part that my dad would spend hours and hours and hours on, is the watering. And I figured out how to do it with like minimal input from me, and it just kind of does its thing. It's great. It's like the best.
No trip.
Yeah, it'll cost you some connectors, some brass connectors and some splitters, but it's so nice when I just like leave it, and I'll leave it on for 6 hours, 8 hours sometimes, and it just soaks really nice and even. You gotta have the right pressure though. Gotta have the right pressure. I've got secondary water. Yeah, I've got secondary water. Yeah.
How cucumbers, how susceptible to cross pollination? If I have a trellis, like 8 feet, you might let half of it.
If I do more varieties than just the Tasty Green, I'll grow them just like side by side by side. And they're just like all in the same row, and it's not a problem. But if I harvested the seed and tried to plant the seed the next year, then it would be a problem. But the first year, no problem at all. Because I'll do Tasty Green, and I'll do Burpless Supreme, and I will do the Sweet Success, because those are all my 3 favorites. And if my wife wants to pickle a little bit, I'll do some picklers, and they'll all be in the same row, just right side by side. So So those are the three that I like: Tasty Green, and Sweet Success, and Burpless Supreme. Burpless Supreme is a standard 7-inch cucumber, like the ones by the, but it tastes really good. Yeah, the Burpless Supreme. This is a unique variety. It looks like just like a regular, what is it? The Market More cucumber. I mean, it's just like your standard, go to the grocery store, buy a regular cucumber slicer, but the flavor is so mild that it's like one of the best flavored cucumbers ever. Sounds really good. But if you get into like the lemon cucumbers, they're round and yellow. They look just like a lemon, but they taste like a cucumber, kind of seedy. Armenian looks like it doesn't have skin on it. It's like a light green, but they'll get 12, 16, 20 inches long sometimes. Some of those Armenians will get really big. Got a lot of customers that swear by the Armenians. Yeah, they are. I don't think it's as good as the Tasty Green, but that's fine. So those are really good. And then for picklers, the homemade pickles is really good. Pioneer is the one that my mom would do every year. That was her favorite pickler, and it's a really good pickler. So Pioneer is great. Homemade pickles is really good. Pick a Bushel is a really compact plant, but it produces a ton of cucumbers. So if you don't have a lot of space, do Pick a Bushel, because that thing, it's only like 3 feet around, but it just like produces like crazy. So that's a good variety. All right, so let's go to carrots. Since you got to taste the carrots last week, yeah, weren't those good?
Yes.
They're awesome. Those are awesome carrots. I love those carrots. Look, our coconut core pellets are all hydrated and ready to go now. So got those. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. The coconut core pellets seem to take longer to hydrate up than the peat ones, and I think it's just because they're a little drier. I don't know why it takes longer, but usually I get the peat ones to hydrate in about 5 minutes. These sometimes take an hour. So, but those guys are ready to go. So last week you got to taste the Bolero carrots. That's like the nicest carrot I've grown. And I've got some that we've been digging out that are almost as big as my forearm, from like my wrist up to not quite my elbow. I mean, they're big, but the quality is really, really good on them. So I'm surprised how large they have gotten.
I was in the grocery store.
Yeah.
At Macy's, and one of the produce managers was talking to me.
Yeah.
And he said, carrots in California got flooded out.
Oh, yeah.
So if you think you're going to buy them at the grocery store, probably that won't happen.
Yeah, not as many carrots, huh? Interesting. I've not heard that, but I will try and dig into it and see what we can find. So carrots, there's like different shapes on the carrots. That really was a good watermelon picture, So I'm gonna take full credit for that one. Usually my watermelons are not that great. So if you're familiar with the coreless carrots, like the Nantes coreless, they are more of a cylindrical carrot. They're shaped more like that. But then you've got like a Danvers or a half-long type carrot, and they're a little blockier on the shoulder, but they're bigger and they're more pointed. And these are slightly longer than they traditionally get. So this is probably closer to 10 inches, but it's really, we'll call it 7 inches. But then you get an Imperator type carrot, and that's like your traditional, like really long, pointy carrot. Those are kind of like your main 3 types of carrots. All right, so you've got a coreless with kind of a blunt, cylindrical look to it. You've got a blockier, tapered carrot, and you got these really long, skinny carrots. And if you grew up watching Bugs Bunny like I did, Bugs Bunny would go and grab the carrots and pull them out, and the whole carrot would be intact. If you try and do that with the cylindrical ones, it just tears the top off, and the carrot stays in the ground. If you do it with these, they've got really sturdy stems on them, and so you can actually pull those out, and they look pretty good. But you end up just breaking these off if you don't harvest them right. So the baby carrots that you buy at the grocery store are actually not baby carrots. They're like these carrots that got broken when they harvested them, and some brilliant person came up with a machine that they would throw the broken carrots in, and the ones that break in harvest, they're the best ones because they're more tender and they're sweeter and they're really good. And before, what they used to do is take the broken carrots and put them in the soup. They chop them all up and put them in the soup. We figured out, well, let's take the skin off of them and cut them into little pieces and round them, make them look like little baby carrots, and we'll sell them for 3 times as much money as the regular carrots, and we're going to make more money on it. What a great idea. That's a great idea. Because once you get the machine built, just like do carrots every single year. It doesn't cost you anything. So the baby carrots that are so delicious at the grocery store, those are manufactured. All right, they don't grow that size. They're manufactured, but they're the good carrots that break. And then what do you do with them? You either scrap them for the soup or you make extra money off of them. So they're making extra money off of them. It's just like the lettuce in the bags. Nobody wants to shred the lettuce. It's basically the same lettuce, but it's like been shredded for you, and we'll add a sliver of purple cabbage and maybe a carrot slice or 2 in there. And we'll charge you extra for it, but you will buy it because it's convenient and it's easy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. So they did the same things with the carrots. I wish I was that person because that is such a great idea. Because really, the carrots that break, they're the best ones. So that's why the baby carrots, you like to snack on those because they're the best ones. Yeah, they're the best ones. So that's how it works with the carrots. So we've got some really cool carrots at Anderson's. The Atomic Red is a red carrot. The Cosmic Purple is a purple carrot. The Lunar White is a white carrot. And the Solar Yellow is a yellow carrot. And the red carrot tastes like cherries, and the purple one like grapes, and the yellow one tastes like lemons. No. But they look great. So we put them all together in the mix, and they're really, really fun to grow. So if you got kids, grandkids, grow the mix because it's just really fun to go and just pull different colored carrots out. Marion.
Can you please tell me how to keep carrots?
Yes.
Yes, teach us.
We have got the process to get carrots to come up. So this is exactly what I do. So I take my rake and I rake the row where I'm going to do my carrots about 12 inches wide. So it's a 12-inch wide row. And I just like rake it, make it smooth and level all the way. And then when I'm doing that, I get my tomato and vegetable food, and I like the one with the lion on it, not the one with the frog on it. We do the lion one. And I sprinkle that down the row. I've got a cup, and I just like, and I sprinkle that down the row. And then I rake it again very lightly just to kind of work it into the soil. Then I sprinkle my carrots, and I try and get them as thin as possible, but still have about a carrot every inch, and just kind of sprinkle that as I go. And then I take my coconut core. This is the key. Coconut core over the top of the carrots. So you can rake the carrots again if you want, that's fine. But the coconut core goes over the top of the carrots. And I do about a quarter to a half an inch of coconut core over the top of the carrots. Then I step on it very lightly. So I'll just like, the row's 12 inches wide, so I just like, my feet are just right, and I just kind of walk down the row sideways, and I just kind of pack it down just a little bit. All right, no stomping, just light. And then I'll take my seed starter and I mix it up in my 2-gallon watering can that has a water breaker on it, and I water it very lightly. And what the coconut core does is it keeps the seeds from washing away. They stay in place. So it acts like a filter, and it allows the water to go through and hydrate the seeds, but it doesn't wash them away. And then the coconut core will dry out on the surface as the sun hits it, but since it's a darker color, it heats up really, really well, and it holds so much moisture it stays wet on the bottom. And so I only water my carrots, depending on what the weather does, every 2 or 3 days just to keep them damp. But the coconut core maintains that moisture content, and it warms them up quicker. And I will get carrots to come up in 12 days instead of 21. Like they come up like clockwork, 12 days every time with the coconut core. Yep. Then they come up, and then the fun begins because once they come up and they start to get really thick, then you got to start thinning them. And I'm out there on my hands and knees, and I thin the carrots, and then I'll thin them again, and then I'll thin them one more time, and they're still too thick because I just hate pulling those little baby carrots out. So it's just, you really should have them about 1 inch apart. Yeah, about an inch apart. So, Clara, you're gonna kill like 75% of the baby carrots. So you're gonna like grab them and pull them out as if they were weeds, which breaks my heart because it's so hard to get them to come up. But if you don't thin the carrots out to about 1 inch apart, then they're too close together and they won't develop and look like that. You'll just have a whole bunch of really long, skinny carrots that don't do anything. All right?
Only plant one seed every 2 inches. Why do they?
Oh, because my inches get really close together as I'm sprinkling them out, and then as you rake them, they kind of get on top of each other. It's the worst part of gardening is thinning I hate thinning the carrots. I hate it because it's so hard to get them to come up in the first place. But if you don't thin the carrots, you don't get good carrots.
Hold it up and kind of get somewhere else to grow.
Yeah, but they like you tear that little tap root off and they're toast. Yeah, so it's just like yank them out. Some people go out there with like thinning shears and just kind of like snip them off, and you can do that too and try and thin them that way. But there's no real fun way to thin the carrots. Some people actually put radishes in with their carrots because the radishes are ready to pick in like 30 to 40 days. And as you pick the radishes, it pulls half the carrots up. And so then that thins your carrots as you're pulling the radishes out. So that's a possibility. It's a really great idea. It's less painful because, you're sacrificing a few carrots to eat the radishes, which I'm okay with that. Yeah, it's better than just pulling radishes up. So Corey and then Michelle back there.
I noticed that coconut was kind of powdery. How do you keep it from blowing away?
It does not blow away. I promise. Yeah, you're stepping on it, so it kind of compacts it down. So really, it's like a sponge, and it's pretty fibrous. And so, stick your fingers in there. You gotta stick it. It stays in place, even on a raised bed. It will stay there. Yeah, it kind of adheres. It kind of adheres together. Did you want to touch it too?
Yeah,
It's like the best.
Does that come in bales? How do you
It comes in. So this was a little teeny brick that was about that thick and about that big, and it hydrated up and gave us a bucket full. We did that 2 weeks. We did that 2 weeks ago. And it's still wet. Like it holds moisture like crazy. Okay, Michelle.
My carrot will look great on top, and then I pull them out, and it's not like one root.
Mm-hmm. Did to harden off, and then they got watered correctly again, and then they started to grow, and they don't grow evenly. You get these roots that come off. I've got a few at home like that too. It was hard to keep stuff like hydrated properly last year. It was really difficult. So I had a lot of split carrots, and that's because they've hardened off, and then they started to grow again. And instead of growing this way, they decide, okay, I'm going to grow this way, and so they start splitting all over. So yeah. Haley.
When do you plant and when do you harvest?
So carrots, I try and plant about mid-April around Easter. And then I'm harvesting in the fall, and I'm harvesting right now. So those are the same ones that I planted last year. Left them in the ground, yeah. But usually the carrots are ready in about 70 to 90 days.
You kind of like put stuff over them.
This year I haven't had to, but usually we will put stuff over the top of them. So the best thing to cover the carrots with, if you're going to leave them in the ground, and you can do this with beets also, is bags of leaves. So I will go around the neighborhood and gather up bags of leaves because my neighbors kindly bagged them all up just for me before the city comes. Bags go in the back of my truck. Somebody already did the work for me. And I take them out and I put them right on top of the carrots out in the garden. And it's better than just putting leaves on the carrots because then you have to dig through the leaves to get to them. And then it's hard to put them back when you get what you need. But with the bags, you just like kick the snow off the bags on a normal winter, not this year. And you pick the bag up and you move it and you dig up the carrots and you put the bag back. And the deer don't like the bags, so the deer aren't digging in them. But if you put leaves out there, the deer will dig through them and they'll eat the tops off the carrots and ruin your carrots. So the bags work great because they're mobile, but they also insulate and protect, and it works perfectly. I also have dug up all my carrots in the fall and layered them in totes in the garage. But you have to put the totes where you want them to be for the entire winter, because once they're full of sand and carrots, you cannot move them. And so the big totes, layer inch of sand in the bottom, layer of carrots, inch of sand over the top, another layer of carrots, inch of sand over the top. I mean, so your tote weighs like 250 pounds when you're done with it. But then you can harvest the carrots all winter without having to go out in the garden. But your garage needs to stay above freezing but below 50. I cut the tops off. Yeah, cut the tops off. Yeah, and it works great. Above freezing but below 50. And you can do the same thing with the beets. You can store the beets exactly the same way. So we've got beets out in our garden along with our carrots, and it works really, really well. So, all right, so let's look at our list and see what we need to finish up. Not next week, but on the 28th, we got through a bunch of, we'll hit corn. Yeah, we'll do peas. We can burn through the lettuces really quick, but we'll do corn and peas and onions and potatoes, and the squashes. We'll do squashes and pumpkins all together, and then we'll talk tomatoes and peppers too. So we got a few things. It'll take us. We'll do that on the 28th. Yes. So we'll finish up the vegetables, and then I'll teach you some of the tricks that I do in my garden, like watering and trellising. And Josh is going to do pests next week, and then we'll have another couple classes after that. So yeah, Marion.
What were the kind of carrots that you brought last time?
Bolero.
Bolero.
And they are quite delicious. So yeah, so pests next week. So you're going to talk about bugs and weeds and diseases and all the fun. Then drop your seeds in the middle, and then just kind of push the coconut coir up over the top of them, and have something that you can put them in water, or water them. It really works nicely to put them in a warmer location. So on top of your fridge, on top of your water heater, where it's consistently warm, is better than in a window. All right, it's going to be much, much better than in a window. And by the time you come next week, I won't be here, but Josh will show them to you. But we'll have seedlings that are that tall. They'll be ready to go. And then we're going to hit them with the Bigfoot. And then when you come back the week after that, when JD does the class, you'll be like, oh, what the heck happened to those? That's crazy. They will have roots going all over the place, and they'll barely be 2 weeks old from seed, not from emergence. And they'll have roots bursting out of the little peat pellets, and you'll just be like freaked out, because that's what the Bigfoot does. It's really cool. So, and then when we come back on the 28th, they're going to be big enough that we'll probably have them into a larger container, and they'll be ready to transplant into like 4-inch pots. And then by the time class is over, I'll send them home with you so you can kill them all before you get them outside. It's hard to keep them alive until like May, so that's where I go. Please have fun with those. Good luck. Hopefully you'll have some. I had a couple plants left over that made it to my garden last year, so it was good. It's too early to start them, but if we don't start them now, they won't be ready to transplant. And we'll do some cuttings with some house plants in our cloner as well too. So that'll be fun. So we got some other hands-on experiments. So please grab a little